A homeless girl with nothing to her name. A paralyzed boy surrounded by everything money could buy. Their worlds should never have crossed. But when they did, something changed that no one expected. When a billionaire saw a homeless girl helping his paralyzed son, what he did next shocked everyone. Sit back, relax, and let me tell you this story. In a large city, there lived a young boy named Ethan. His father, Mr. Marcus, was a very wealthy man. People called him a billionaire. He owned companies. He had houses in different places. He drove expensive cars. But none of that mattered anymore. Because in that big house, with all that money, there was no happiness. Only silence. It wasn't always like this. Ethan once had a beautiful life. His mother, Diana, was a warm woman. She had a soft voice and kind eyes. She loved her children more than anything in the world. Ethan also had a younger brother named Tyler. The two of them were inseparable. They laughed together. They played together. They told each other secrets late at night when they should have been asleep. Diana would take them to the park on weekends. She would hold their hands and tell them stories. She would kiss their foreheads before bed. She treated them like they were the most precious things on earth. And, to her, they were. Life was good. Life was bright. Until one day, everything changed. Diana was driving. Ethan and Tyler were in the back seat. They were singing a song together, something silly that made them laugh. The road was busy, but Diana was careful. She always was. Then, out of nowhere, a large truck lost control. It came fast. Too fast. There was a loud crash. Metal against metal. Glass breaking. Then silence. When the silence lifted, Diana was gone. Tyler was gone. Ethan survived. But barely. His body was broken. The doctors did what they could, but the damage was too much. His legs no longer worked. He couldn't walk. He couldn't stand. He would spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the look in his eyes. After the accident, Ethan stopped talking. He stopped smiling. He stopped being a child. He just sat there, day after day, staring at nothing. His body was alive, but something inside him had died along with his mother and brother. Mr. Marcus tried everything. He took Ethan to the best doctors. They ran tests. They gave him medicine. They said his legs might heal with time, but no one could say for sure. He hired therapists, people who were trained to help children recover from trauma. They sat with Ethan for hours, asking him questions, trying to reach him. But Ethan never answered. He just looked away. Marcus bought him gifts. Toys, games, books. Things that used to make Ethan smile. But Ethan didn't even look at them. He took him on trips. To the beach. To the mountains. To places Diana used to take them. But it didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. Because everywhere they went, Ethan remembered what he had lost. So Marcus stopped trying to fix it. Instead, he built walls. He hired more security. He made sure the gates were always locked. He told the staff to watch Ethan at all times. He convinced himself that if he could just keep his son safe, if he could just protect him from the world, then maybe, somehow, things would get better. But they didn't. The house became quieter, colder. It felt more like a prison than a home. Marcus would stand outside Ethan's room sometimes, just listening, hoping to hear something. A laugh. A word. Anything. But there was only silence. And in that silence, Marcus was drowning. He had all the money in the world. But he couldn't buy back his wife. He couldn't buy back his son Tyler. And he couldn't buy back the light in Ethan's eyes. He was losing him. Slowly. Quietly. And he didn't know how to stop it. What Marcus didn't know was that help was coming. Not from a doctor. Not from a therapist. Not from anyone he could hire. It was coming from a place he would never have expected. From a girl with nothing. A girl the world had forgotten. A girl named Mia. The morning started like every other morning. Mr. Marcus stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie. His suit was perfectly pressed. His shoes were polished. He looked like a man in control. But inside, he felt anything but. He walked downstairs to the dining room. The table was set. Breakfast was ready. He sat down and picked up his phone, scrolling through emails he didn't really care about. Agnes, he called. The maid appeared from the kitchen. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. She had worked for the family for years. She remembered when the house was full of laughter. Yes, sir, she said. We're running low on supplies, Marcus said without looking up. Make a list. Take the driver and go to the market today. Agnes nodded. Yes, sir. I'll go this afternoon. Marcus set his phone down and looked at her. How is he? Agnes didn't need to ask who he meant. The same, sir, she said quietly. He didn't eat much last night. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. Then he stood. I'll check on him before I leave. He walked down the long hallway toward Ethan's room. His footsteps echoed in the quiet house. He stopped at the door and took a breath. Then he opened it. Ethan was sitting in his wheelchair by the window. He wasn't looking outside. He was just staring at the wall. His hands rested limply in his lap. He didn't move when the door opened. Marcus stepped inside. Ethan, he said softly. Good morning, son. No response. Marcus walked closer. He knelt down beside the wheelchair so he could see Ethan's face. How are you feeling today? Nothing. Ethan's eyes didn't even flicker. It was like Marcus wasn't there at all. Marcus felt the familiar ache in his chest. The same ache he felt every morning, every night, every moment he looked at his son and saw a ghost. He reached out and touched Ethan's hand. I have to go to work, he said, but I'll be back soon. If you need anything, just tell Agnes. Okay. Ethan said nothing. Marcus stood slowly. He looked at his son for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out of the room. He closed the door gently behind him. As he walked toward the front door, he felt the weight of it all pressing down on him. The silence, the emptiness, the fear that he was losing Ethan more and more each day. He got into his car and drove away. Later that afternoon, Agnes finished writing the shopping list. She found the driver and handed it to him. We need to go now, she said, before the market gets too crowded. The driver nodded. They got into the car and left through the front gate. But the roads were bad that day. Traffic was heavy. Cars moved slowly, bumper to bumper. What should have taken 30 minutes took over an hour. Back at the house, the security guard sat in his small booth by the gate. His name was Peter. He was a quiet man who took his job seriously. But that day, his back was hurting. It had been hurting for days. He reached into his bag and pulled out some pain medicine. He swallowed 2 pills with water and leaned back in his chair. Just for a little while, he muttered to himself. But the medicine was strong. Stronger than he expected. Within minutes, his eyes grew heavy. His head drooped forward. And before he knew it, he was asleep. The house was silent now. Completely silent. Inside, Ethan sat in his room. The same chair, the same emptiness. But today, something was different. Today, the silence felt heavier than usual. He looked around. The walls felt like they were closing in. The air felt thick. He couldn't breathe in here anymore. He didn't think about it. He just moved. Slowly, he reached down and gripped the wheels of his chair. He pushed forward. The door was open. He rolled into the hallway. No one called his name. No one came to check on him. He kept moving. Through the hallway. Through the living room. Toward the front door. It was unlocked. He pushed it open and rolled outside. The sunlight hit his face. It felt strange. He hadn't been outside alone in months. He moved toward the gate. And that's when he saw Peter, slumped over in his chair, asleep. Ethan stared at him for a moment. Then he looked at the gate. It wasn't locked. He reached out and pushed it. It swung open. Beyond the gate was the street. Cars moved past. People walked by. The world was loud and fast and dangerous. Ethan didn't care. He rolled forward. Out of the gate. Onto the sidewalk. Into the world. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he couldn't stay in that house anymore. The wheelchair moved slowly over the uneven pavement. Cars honked. People brushed past him without looking. No one stopped. Ethan rolled toward the edge of the road. He needed to cross. But the street was busy. Vehicles sped by. one after another. He sat there, waiting, watching. His hands shook on the wheels. He was alone, and he had no idea how to get back. Almost an hour later, Agnes and the driver finally made it back to the house. The traffic had been terrible. Agnes stepped out of the car carrying bags of groceries. She walked inside and set them down in the kitchen. Then she wiped her hands on her apron and headed toward Ethan's room. "Let me check on the boy," she said to herself. She opened the door. The wheelchair was gone. Her heart skipped. "Ethan," she called. No answer. She checked the bathroom. Empty. She checked the hallway. Nothing. She ran to the living room. Not there. Her breath quickened. She checked the garden. The study. Every room. He was nowhere. No. No, 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 she whispered. She rushed outside and saw Peter, still asleep in his chair. She ran to him and shook his shoulder hard. "Peter, wake up." He jolted awake, confused. What happened? "Where is Ethan?" Agnes shouted. "Did you see him leave?" Peter's face went pale. I fell asleep." "I didn't." Agnes didn't wait to hear the rest. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands and dialed Mr. Marcus. It rang twice. Then he answered. "Sir," she said, her voice shaking. "Sir, we cannot find Ethan. He's not in the house. Please, sir, you need to come home now." There was silence on the other end. Then Marcus's voice came through, low and tight. "What do you mean you can't find him?" "He's gone, sir. We looked everywhere. He's not here." Another pause. Then, in a voice filled with barely controlled fear, "I'm on my way." The line went dead. Agnes stood there, staring at the empty street beyond the gate. Her hands were still shaking. Where could he be? Not far from the house, in a different part of the city, a young girl walked slowly along the sidewalk. Her name was Mia. She was small and thin. Her clothes were old and torn in places. Her hair was messy. She had no shoes. Her feet were tough from walking on hot pavement and rough streets. Mia had no home, no family. She was an orphan. She had been walking all morning looking for something to eat, someone to help. But people didn't look at her. They walked past like she wasn't there. She was used to it. As she walked, she noticed the street ahead was busy. Cars honked. People shouted. She was about to turn down a quieter road when she saw something that made her stop. A boy. In a wheelchair. Sitting at the edge of a busy intersection. He looked lost. Mia watched him for a moment. He was trying to cross, but the cars weren't stopping. He looked scared. People walked past him. No one stopped to help. Mia frowned. Someone should help him, she whispered to herself. She looked around. No one was moving. So she did. She ran toward him, weaving between people on the sidewalk. When she reached him, she knelt down beside his wheelchair. "Do you need help?" she asked gently. The boy looked at her. His eyes were sad, tired, but he nodded. Mia smiled softly. "Okay, don't worry. I'll help you." She stood and gripped the handles of the wheelchair. She looked both ways, watching the traffic carefully. Then slowly, she began to push. A car slowed down. Another one stopped. Mia moved carefully, step by step, guiding the wheelchair across the street. When they reached the other side, she let out a breath. The boy looked up at her. For the first time, there was something in his eyes. Something like gratitude. "Thank you," he said quietly. His voice was soft, like he hadn't used it in a long time. Mia smiled. "You're welcome. What's your name?" "Ethan," he said. "I'm Mia." They looked at each other for a moment. Two strangers. Two broken lives. Connected by one small act of kindness. Then, suddenly, a voice shouted from across the street. "Ethan!" Mia turned. A man was running toward them. He was dressed in an expensive suit. His face was twisted with fear and anger. He reached them in seconds. He didn't look at Mia. He only looked at Ethan. "What are you doing out here?" Marcus said, his voice shaking. "Do you know how dangerous this is?" He grabbed the wheelchair and turned it around, pulling Ethan toward a black car parked nearby. Mia stepped back, confused. Marcus lifted Ethan into the car. He folded the wheelchair quickly and shoved it into the trunk. Then he got into the driver's seat and slammed the door. The car pulled away. Mia stood there on the sidewalk, watching as they disappeared into the traffic. The man never looked at her. He never said thank you. He didn't even acknowledge she existed. Mia lowered her hands slowly. She felt something heavy settle in her chest. She had helped. She had been kind. But to him, she was invisible. She turned and started walking again. Alone. Just like always. Mr. Marcus drove in silence. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His heart was still racing. In the back seat, Ethan sat quietly. He didn't look at his father. He just stared out the window. When they arrived home, Marcus parked the car and got out. He opened the back door and carefully lifted Ethan into his wheelchair. He didn't say a word. He wheeled Ethan into the house. Agnes was waiting by the door, her face pale with worry. "Sir, I'm so sorry." "Not now," Marcus said coldly. He pushed Ethan into his room and closed the door. Then he turned and walked back to the living room. "Everyone. Here. Now," he said. Agnes and Peter came quickly. The driver stood nearby, unsure of what to do. Marcus looked at them, his face hard. "Tell me what happened." Agnes spoke first. Her voice trembled. "Sir, I only did what you asked. I went to the market, but the traffic was very bad. It took much longer than usual. When I came back, he was already gone." Marcus turned to Peter. "And you?" Peter's head was down. "Sir, I took medicine for my back pain. It made me drowsy. I fell asleep. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, sir. Please." Marcus stared at him for a long time. The room was silent. Then he spoke. His voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. "You had one job. Watch the gate. That's all. Just watch the gate. Sir, please." "Pack your things," Marcus said. "Leave. Now." Peter's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, please, I need this job. I have a family." "I don't care," Marcus said. His voice didn't rise, but it cut like a blade. "You put my son in danger. Get out of my house." Peter stood there for a moment, trembling. Then he turned and walked away. Agnes looked down, her hands clasped in front of her. She didn't say anything. Marcus dismissed them with a wave of his hand. They left quickly. He stood alone in the living room, breathing hard. Then, slowly, the anger drained out of him. What was left was something worse. Fear. Later that night, Marcus sat in his study. The lights were dim. He had a glass of whiskey in his hand, but he hadn't touched it. He kept replaying the moment in his mind. Ethan in the street. Lost. Vulnerable. And that girl. The one who helped him. Marcus closed his eyes and rubbed his face. He had been so scared. So relieved to find Ethan. He hadn't thought about anything else. But now, in the quiet, he remembered. The girl had been gentle. She had spoken softly to Ethan. She had pushed the wheelchair carefully, like she knew how fragile he was. And Marcus had ignored her. He hadn't even looked at her. He hadn't said thank you. "What's wrong with me?" he whispered. He set the glass down and leaned back in his chair. Guilt settled heavy in his chest. She helped my son, and I treated her like she didn't exist. He didn't even know her name. Somewhere across the city, Mia sat on a low wall beside a quiet street. The sun was setting. The air was getting colder. She pulled her thin jacket tighter around herself and stared at the ground. She kept thinking about the boy, Ethan. His eyes had been so sad, like he was carrying something too heavy for a child to carry. She wondered if he was okay now, if he was safe. She hoped so. The man who took him looked rich, important. Maybe he was Ethan's father, but he didn't seem happy. He seemed angry, scared. Mia sighed. "I hope you're all right," she whispered into the night. She didn't know if she would ever see him again. The next morning, Marcus made a decision. He called his personal assistant. "I need you to find me a house," he said. "In the most secure neighborhood in the city. Gated community. Private security. I want it ready as soon as possible." "Yes, sir." "May I ask why?" I'm moving, Marcus said. I need a place where my son will be safe. Completely safe. Understood, sir. I'll get on it right away. Marcus hung up. He also decided he would work from home from now on. No more leaving Ethan alone. No more risks. He would control everything. He would make sure nothing like this ever happened again. 1 week passed. The house was quieter than ever. Marcus rarely left. Ethan stayed in his room, silent as always. Everything was under control. Or so Marcus thought. But control was not the same as healing. And deep down, Marcus knew it. He just didn't know what else to do. Days turned into weeks. Marcus stayed home now. He set up his office in the study. He took meetings from there. He signed documents from there. He ran his business from behind a desk, always keeping one ear open for sounds from Ethan's room. He told himself this was better, safer. But the house felt like a tomb. Every morning, Agnes would wheel Ethan out to the garden. She would place him near the flowers, in the shade, where the air was cool. And Ethan would sit there, staring at nothing. Marcus would watch from the window. His son looked so small in that chair, so far away. Please, Marcus would whisper. Please come back to me. But Ethan never did. Across the city, Mia walked through a neighborhood she had never been to before. The houses here were big, beautiful. The gates were tall and shiny. The lawns were green and perfect. She walked slowly, looking at everything. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. She wasn't looking for anything in particular. She was just walking, hoping, like always. Then something caught her eye. Movement behind one of the gates. She stopped and looked closer. A boy, in a wheelchair. Her heart skipped. She knew that boy. Ethan, she whispered. She moved closer to the gate. It was made of metal bars, so she could see through it clearly. And yes, it was him. He was sitting in the garden alone. His head was down. Then, slowly, he looked up, and he saw her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Ethan's hand lifted. Just a little. A small wave. Mia's face broke into a smile. She walked quickly to the gate and knelt down so they were at eye level. Ethan, she said softly. It's you. He nodded. Do you remember me? She asked. He nodded again. This time his lips moved. Mia. Her smile grew. Yes. I'm Mia. They looked at each other through the gate. Ethan's eyes were still sad. But there was something else there now. Something that hadn't been there before. Recognition. Connection. You look sad again, Mia said gently. I don't like seeing you sad. Ethan didn't respond. He just looked down at his hands. Mia thought for a moment. Then she had an idea. Can I sing for you? She asked. Ethan looked up. He hesitated. Then he nodded. Mia took a breath. And she began to sing. Her voice was soft. Sweet. It was the kind of voice that wrapped around you like a warm blanket. The kind that made you feel safe. She sang a simple song. One she had learned a long time ago, back when she still had a home. The words didn't matter as much as the feeling behind them. And Ethan listened. Inside the house, Marcus sat at his desk. He was reading an email, but his mind was somewhere else. Then he heard it. A voice. Singing. He stopped. Lifted his head. It was coming from outside. From the garden. He stood and walked to the window. And what he saw made him freeze. The girl. The same girl from the street. She was kneeling by the gate. Singing. And Ethan. Ethan was different. His head was tilted slightly, like he was listening. Really listening. And then, Marcus saw something that made his chest tighten. Ethan's lips were moving. He was singing along. Not loud. Barely a whisper. But he was singing. Marcus's hands gripped the edge of the window. His eyes filled with tears. For months, Ethan had been silent. Dead inside. But now, because of this girl, there was something. A flicker. A spark. Marcus stood there, afraid to move. Afraid to breathe. Afraid that if he made a sound, the moment would disappear. Please, he thought. Please don't stop. Mia kept singing. And Ethan kept listening. And for the first time in a very long time, the house didn't feel so cold. When the song ended, Mia smiled at Ethan. "Did you like it?" she asked. Ethan nodded. And then, quietly, he said, "Thank you." Mia's heart warmed. Suddenly, the front door of the house opened. Agnes stepped out. She walked toward the gate, carrying something in her hands. Mia stood up, unsure. Agnes reached the gate and opened it slightly. She smiled kindly at Mia. "This is for you," she said, holding out a plate covered with a cloth. Mia blinked. "For me?" "Yes," Agnes said. "My boss asked me to give it to you." Mia slowly took the plate. She lifted the cloth. Inside was warm rice, vegetables, and a piece of bread. Her eyes widened. Her hands trembled slightly. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "Thank you so much." Agnes nodded gently. "You're welcome, child." She turned back to Ethan. "All right, Ethan. It's time to go inside now." But before Agnes could wheel him away, Ethan looked at Mia. "Come again tomorrow," he said. Mia's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled through them. "I will," she said. "I promise." Agnes wheeled Ethan back toward the house. And all the way, Ethan kept looking back at Mia. Mia stood there, holding the plate of food. She felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The next morning, Mia came back. She sat outside the gate, just like she promised. And soon, Agnes wheeled Ethan out to the garden. They talked. Not a lot. Ethan didn't say much, but he listened. And that was enough. Mia told him little stories about things she had seen on the streets, about a dog that followed her once, about the sky at night when there were no clouds. Simple things. But they made Ethan's face soften. Sometimes Mia sang. And when she did, Ethan's eyes would close, and he would hum along quietly. This became their routine. Every morning Mia would come. And every morning, Ethan would be there waiting. Marcus watched from the window. He saw how Ethan changed when Mia was around. He saw the light creeping back into his son's eyes. But Marcus didn't invite her inside. He didn't speak to her. He just watched. He told himself he needed to be careful. He needed to understand who this girl was before he let her get too close. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was afraid. Afraid that if he let her in, something might go wrong. Afraid that she might leave. Afraid that Ethan would be hurt again. So he kept his distance. And he watched. A few weeks later, Marcus took Ethan to the hospital for his regular checkup. The doctor examined him carefully, checked his reflexes, tested his legs, asked him questions. When the exam was over, the doctor smiled. "Mr. Marcus," he said, "I have good news." Marcus sat forward. "What is it?" "Your son is improving," the doctor said. "His nerves are responding better than before. His muscle tone is better. Whatever you're doing, it's working." Marcus felt something lift in his chest. "So, he might walk again?" The doctor nodded. "It's possible. With time and continued therapy, yes. I believe he could." Marcus closed his eyes. Relief washed over him. "Thank you, doctor," he said quietly. "Thank you." As they left the hospital, Marcus's phone rang. It was his assistant. "Sir, the new house is ready. Everything has been arranged. You can move in whenever you're ready." Marcus looked at Ethan sitting quietly in the back seat. A new house. A safer place. Better security. No more risks. "We'll move this week," Marcus said. "Yes, sir." Marcus hung up. He felt like he was doing the right thing. He didn't realize he was about to make a terrible mistake. They moved 3 days later. The new house was bigger, more secure. It had high walls, cameras everywhere, and guards at the gate 24 hours a day. Marcus felt safer there. But he didn't tell anyone they were leaving. Not the neighbors. Not the old security team. And not Mia. They packed quietly. They left at night. By morning, they were gone. The next day, Mia walked to the old house like she always did. She hummed softly as she walked. She had found a flower on the side of the road and picked it. She thought Ethan might like it. But when she reached the gate, something felt wrong. It was too quiet. She walked closer. The gate was closed. The garden was empty. "Ethan," she called softly. No answer. She pressed her face against the bars, looking into the yard. No one was there. Her heart started to beat faster. Then she saw a man walk out of the house. A different man. Not the one she had seen before. "Excuse me," Mia called. "Where is the boy? The one in the wheelchair?" The man walked over. "You mean the family that lived here?" "Yes," Mia said quickly. "Where are they?" The man shrugged. "They moved. Last night. Don't know where they went." Mia's breath caught in her throat. "Moved," she whispered.
Yeah.
"New owners are coming next week." Mia stepped back from the gate. The flower slipped from her hand and fell to the ground. They were gone. Ethan was gone. She didn't know where.
She didn't know why.
She just knew he wasn't coming back. Her chest felt tight.
Her eyes stung.
She turned and walked away slowly. Her feet felt heavy. She had thought, she had hoped, but it didn't matter. People like her didn't get to keep good things. In the new house, Ethan sat by a different window. At first, he seemed okay. He ate a little more. He slept better. But after a few days, something changed. He stopped humming. He stopped looking out the window. He went back to staring at the walls. Marcus noticed immediately. "Ethan," he said one morning. "Are you all right?" No response. Marcus knelt beside him. "Talk to me, son. Please." But Ethan just looked away. The light that had been growing in his eyes was fading again. And Marcus didn't understand why. 2 weeks passed. Ethan got worse. He barely ate. He didn't sleep well. He sat in his wheelchair like a shell. Marcus tried everything. He bought new things. He hired new therapists. Nothing worked. Finally, he took Ethan back to the doctor. The doctor examined him and frowned. "Mr. Marcus," he said, "physically your son is fine, but emotionally something has changed." "I don't understand," Marcus said. He was getting better. "And now?" "Sometimes," the doctor said gently, "healing isn't just about medicine. Sometimes a person needs something else. Someone else. Someone who brings them peace." Marcus went still.
Someone.
And then it hit him. The girl.
Mia.
"I have to go," Marcus said suddenly. He rushed out of the hospital with Ethan. His mind was racing. As soon as they got home, he called his assistant. "I need you to find someone," Marcus said. "A girl. Her name is Mia. She's young. Homeless. She used to come to our old house." "Yes, sir. Do you have any other details?" Marcus described her as best he could. He gave the address of the old house.
"Find her," Marcus said. "Please."
"I'll do my best, sir." Days went by. The assistant searched. He went to the old neighborhood. He asked around. He checked shelters. He spoke to people on the streets. But no one had seen her. Finally, he called Marcus. "Sir, I'm sorry. I've looked everywhere. I can't find her." Marcus felt something break inside him. "Keep looking," he said. "Sir, I've tried." "Keep looking," Marcus shouted. Then he hung up. He sat in his study, head in his hands. He had made a mistake. A terrible mistake. He had let her go. And now he couldn't find her. And Ethan was suffering because of it. That same night, far across the city, it started to rain. Mia had been walking for hours. She was tired, hungry, cold. The rain came down hard. She looked around for somewhere to hide, but there was nothing. Just empty streets and closed buildings. She found a tree and stood under it, but the rain was too heavy. It soaked through her clothes in minutes. Her body started to shiver. Her teeth chattered. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to stay warm. But the cold was too much. Her legs gave out. She slid down against a wall and curled up. Her eyes grew heavy. She couldn't feel her fingers anymore. A car drove past. Then it stopped. A man and woman got out. They ran over to Mia. "Oh my God," the woman said. "She's freezing." The man lifted Mia carefully. "We need to get her to a hospital. Now." They put her in the car and drove as fast as they could. At the hospital, the doctors worked quickly. "She has hypothermia," one of them said. "Her body temperature is dangerously low." They wrapped her in warm blankets. They gave her medicine. They did everything they could. Slowly, Her body began to warm. But she didn't wake up. 2 days later, Marcus took Ethan to the hospital for another checkup. As they sat in the waiting area, Marcus heard voices down the hall. A man and woman were talking to a doctor. They sounded upset. "We only helped her because she was sick," the man was saying. "We couldn't just leave her in the rain." "I understand," the doctor said. "But someone has to pay for her treatment." "We don't have that kind of money," the woman said.
We're sorry.
"We just wanted to help." Marcus stood up. He walked toward them. "Excuse me," he said. They all turned. "I'll pay," Marcus said. The couple blinked. "Sir, I'll pay for the girl's treatment," Marcus said. "Whatever it costs." The doctor looked surprised. "That's very generous, sir. Let me get her file." He walked into a nearby room. Marcus followed. The doctor opened the door. And there, lying in a hospital bed, was Mia. Marcus's heart stopped. "It's her," he whispered. The doctor turned. "Sir? Do you know this child?" Marcus couldn't speak for a moment. He just stared at her pale face. "Yes," he finally said. "I've been looking for her." The next day, the doctor called Marcus. "She's awake," he said. Marcus didn't waste a second. He drove to the hospital immediately. He walked into her room. Mia was sitting up in bed. She looked weak, but her eyes were open. When she saw him, she looked confused. Marcus pulled a chair close and sat down. "Hello, Mia," he said softly. She blinked. You're Ethan's father." "Yes." "Where is he?" she asked. "Is he okay?" Marcus's throat tightened. Even now, after everything, her first thought was about Ethan. "He's not okay," Marcus said quietly. "Because you're not there." Mia looked down. Marcus leaned forward. "Mia, I need to know. Why were you on the streets?" She hesitated. Then, slowly, she began to talk. She told him about the orphanage, about the woman who ran it, how she was cruel, how she took the children's food and sold their things, and how one night, Mia overheard her selling a child to a stranger. "I realized she had done it before," Mia said quietly. "My best friend. I thought she was adopted. But she wasn't. She was sold." Marcus felt sick. "I ran away that night," Mia continued. "I've been on the streets ever since." Marcus was silent for a long time. Then he spoke. "Mia, I want you to come live with us." Her eyes went wide. "I mean it," Marcus said. "You won't have to live on the streets anymore. You'll have food,
A bed.
safety, and Ethan needs you." Tears filled Mia's eyes. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Marcus said. "I'm sure." The next day, Marcus brought Mia home. He helped her out of the car. She looked small standing in front of the big house. "Come," Marcus said gently. He led her inside, down the hall, to Ethan's room. He opened the door. Ethan was sitting by the window. His face was blank. Then he saw Mia. His eyes widened. His lips parted. And for the first time in weeks, he smiled. "Mia," he whispered. She ran to him. She knelt beside his chair. "I'm here," she said. "I'm here." Marcus stood in the doorway, watching them. And for the first time in a long time, he felt peace. Weeks later, the house was different now. There was laughter, music,
Light.
Ethan improved every day. He started therapy again. He worked hard. And one afternoon in the garden, he decided to try. "I want to stand," he said. Mia looked worried. "Are you sure?" "Yes." He gripped the arms of his wheelchair. He pushed. His legs shook.
He fell.
But he didn't give up. He pushed again. And this time he stood. Then he took a step. Then another. Marcus watched from the window. Tears streamed down his face. Months later, Marcus held an adoption ceremony. Mia became his daughter. Officially. Ethan stood beside her, without his wheelchair. And Marcus realized something. Money hadn't saved his son. A homeless girl with nothing had. Because kindness, love, and connection were worth more than anything he could ever buy. So, what did you learn from this story? Sometimes the people we overlook are the ones we need the most. Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And if this touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching. God bless you.